Please take a seat so we can begin. Thank you.
Hello everyone. Before we begin, please make sure to turn off and put away all electronic devices if you have not done so already. Thank you.
Welcome to Catella Talks. My name is Dulce Torra.
And my name is Miranda Ricks, and we will be your hosts for today's event.
During this period, you will see student presentations and documentaries on a variety of topics that were selected by you.
Please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Today, we are hosting Catella Talks. This event showcases students from each grade level presenting on a problem they would like to solve within their community, major, or career interest.
These talks are student-driven, student-led, and student-produced. Students choose topics that are personal and that they are passionate about. They choose which student presentation should be showcased, and they are shooting and editing each presentation in a TED Talk format.
We hope these talks lead to exciting conversation, curiosity, skepticism, openness, critical thinking, and action.
And now, on with the show. Please welcome our first presenter of the day from the class of 2019, Devin Garcia.
Devin also participated in the entire process of the project-based learning, such as a driving question, research inquiry, critical events protocol, and gallery walks as presentation. We would like to give a big round of applause to Devin for her courage to be here and present.
Nine, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. My school is different than other students. I have a teacher that comes to teach me everything from school, because I can't go to a school campus. It is like having my own learning experience at home. I am homeschooled because I can't go to public places easily. I have a disability called osteogenesis imperfecta type 4 or OI. It is a genetic disorder that causes a person's bones to break easily. OI is also called brittle bone disease. I have brittle bones that are easy to break. I was born with osteogenesis imperfecta because my right leg was bent up to my side. I would have pains from when my brittle bones would break. I can't stand up. I have had osteogenesis imperfecta my whole life and been in a wheelchair. I have also lost my hearing because of my disability. Because of my OI, I can't see very well, and I am deaf. I can't walk, and I can't move my body easily. I can't breathe very well, and I get sick often. I have gone to the doctors that are in school to help me try to lift things up. I can read lips, but I can't read lips fast. I have a ventilator machine to breathe better. I have a nurse that helps me every day. Because of my disability, it is difficult and dangerous for me to go outside. My wheelchair is very heavy to push for my nurse. I could break a bone from being moved, and I could also get sick easily from being outside. This is why I am homeschooled. Even though I have osteogenesis imperfecta, I can sketch a picture on my computer. I can make a bracelet, and I can play Just Dance on the Wii. From being homeschooled, I have learned to type words correctly by using an on-screen keyboard and Grammarly on my school laptop. I have learned to do a presentation on the Google Slides and learned to make a page for my reading log. I am able to make a calendar in the Google Sheets by changing the day and date. I have learned that I can send invitations to my teacher for video chat sessions and schedule when she comes to. I have learned how to share everything with my teacher through the computer. I can share videos, docs, slides, and sheets with my teacher. I have been learning a lot from being homeschooled and can do more things by myself. My school has helped me understand the words when it is hard for me to understand. I have learned to understand people by reading their lips better. I can now write out what I want to say by using my laptop. I use a computer voice to help people understand me. I know how to live video chat with my teacher and her class. By video chatting with the class, I can answer questions, do work, and talk to other students in the class. Being homeschooled has helped me get better, and I think being taught differently has helped me learn lots of things. I think students with disabilities like me should be homeschooled to learn. They need to be taught differently because of their disability. They need to be taught differently because they learn differently. Students with disabilities like me can learn just as much as me if they have a homeschool teacher to teach them in the ways they can learn. Then, students have to learn by themselves. Thank you.
The process that led to these talks started with the English department using the project-based learning model as a foundation, which included 4 steps.
The driving question. This is where everything begins. The driving question creates interest or a sense of challenge for students and guides the entire project work.
For this project, we adopted a question from the Common application that many students reply to when applying for colleges across the nation.
What is a problem you would like to solve within your major, career interest, or community?
This question allows for anything that is of personal interest, big or small, no matter the scale, and students began by replying to this question in writing.
I benefited the most from the driving question because it helped me come up with a topic and a problem I believe I should talk to my peers about. The research/inquiry. This step engages students in a rigorous, extended process of asking questions, finding resources, and applying information to create a more personal and tailored driving question, as well as researching that question.
The process that I liked the best was research and inquiry because it allowed me to go talk to different people that were involved in special education, and it opened me up to new ideas and how they have different curriculum and there's different programs that are implemented at our school.
I agree with her, and it really allowed for us to receive inside information and information you wouldn't really get to know about, and that wouldn't have been possible without research.
Critical Friends Protocol allows students to give, receive, and use feedback to improve their process and their product.
Critical Friends Protocol helped me the most because it gave me the chance to share my story with other people, and when I seen their reactions to when I was telling the story, it helped me realize how important it is, and it gave me more confidence in telling my story, and it made me feel more better about presenting if I did get picked.
Critical Friends Protocol because it allowed me to correct myself in my speech on many new things, and I needed to hear what other people thought about it.
Gallery walk/presentation. This is the final step when students make their project work public by explaining, displaying, and/or presenting it to others. The presenters today were chosen by their fellow classmates at each grade level to present to you today.
It was the gallery walk/presentation. It was because we did it. I wasn't used to doing it 10 times because in my previous school it's just like you just have to get this presentation done in like once for 2 minutes and then that's it. But like with our school here in Catella, they do it 10 times, so by the time you kind of repeat it, like you'll be confident and then you'll know your topic much better.
Thank you, Devin. Now please welcome our next presenter from the class of 2021, Toby Grande.
Imagine a world where loving someone or being yourself can get you arrested, beaten, or possibly killed, all due to them because they don't agree with your personal beliefs. Well, that right there is the world I am living in. My name is Jamie Grande. Most people know me by Toby. I am a pansexual, transgender male, and I have been discriminated against almost every day of my life. Being part of the LGBTQ community can be very scary sometimes, especially with a new president. Yes, I am bringing the president into this. He has made it easier for the community to be denied access to homes, food, and healthcare. LGBT people are 120% more likely to experience homelessness due to their families not accepting them or due to them being denied shelter. Our president thinks he can silence us, but I will not be silenced. I want my voice to be heard. 85% of LGBT people have experienced bullying. I have experienced this for more than a year, and it had almost led to my suicide. Not a lot of people know that about me. I was told that I was nothing, that I was worthless, and that I should kill myself, that I was disgusting. I have depression and anxiety, and I'm taking antidepressants. But I'm also going through hormone therapy, meaning I am taking testosterone. If I had killed myself back then, I wouldn't have made it this far, taking testosterone, that is. It has been estimated that between 5 to 10% of LGBT people have attempted suicide, a rate of 1.5 to 3 times higher than heterosexual people. Now imagine this. You're walking through the streets, minding your own business, when a truck pulls out in front of you and shoots in the head, just for you being gay or trans. I have to worry about this and hope that it doesn't happen to me or anyone that I truly care about. 58% of LGBT... 2018, there has been 26 deaths of transgender beings in the U.S. due to LGBT violence. There has already been one transgender woman who was shot this year, and her name was Dana Martin, and she was only 31 years old. 58% of LGBT people don't feel safe and don't speak up about it. And I think a way to make them feel safer is if we had more safe spaces in our school, so showing them that they had a place to go where they won't be judged for their sexuality or gender, such as the GSA Club. I also thought about having events for the LGBT students, such as an LGBTQ dance, bake sales, and any other form of events that support the LGBT community, hoping that the proceeds from these events can go to LGBT hoping that the proceeds of these events can go to nonprofit organizations that support the LGBT community. We are human too, so please don't be afraid to stand with us instead of fight against us. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Students also created short documentaries based on their Catella talks. Please welcome the first documentary, Suicide Prevention by Julie Garcia.
I came to the United States when I was about a year old. I think I had just turned a year old because I have pictures of where I turned a year old in Mexico, and then there's a gap, and then my mom's pregnant, so I think a year, yes. I think I kind of knew that I wasn't born here in America, but my mom had always told me that if anybody ever asked, to just say that I was born here because she was afraid that they'd do something to me.
I came to the United States when I was 9 years old, and I've always known that I was undocumented.
I was born in the country of Guatemala, and I came when I was 6 years old, so I have always known I was undocumented.
I was born in Mexico. Okay, so I think I found out when I was like about 9. I don't know.
Decidí venir a Estados Unidos por un futuro mejor para mis hijas. Dejé a una niña de 3 años y a una de 6 años. Y la separación de mis padres, pues nunca lo había hecho, me había separado de mi familia. Pero la necesidad me obligó a hacer eso, a venirme aquí para un futuro mejor, donde hay mucho trabajo.
No, I don't think my parents were knowledgeable enough, because I remember when I was applying to college, it was me doing everything. And whenever I would ask about something, they never knew anything. Schools should be the one helping, like counselors and stuff, and I got no help there either.
Applying to college and being a dreamer was hard because the few of my cousins that had gone to college, they had done FAFSA and not DREAM Act. So they couldn't help me. They didn't know my application and how to do it. So when I did it by myself, I ended up doing it wrong. And at one point, I wasn't gonna receive financial aid.
I just felt super weird about asking about like the DREAM Act, because I felt like nobody else was filling it out and I was like the only one. Like I felt like I was by myself.
Que sean unos profesionales, que sean unas personas de bien en todo sentido. O que ellos puedan tener un futuro mejor, el futuro que yo no pude tener.
And I feel like undocumented kids feel this struggle because they feel the struggle more because our parents gave up so much of their life for us, and we can't just not do anything with our lives.
So I feel like I've always put this pressure on myself with getting good grades and like trying to be the best I could be, so that they can be proud of me and like tell them that like, oh, like, you know, this was worth it. Like all like the trials you went through and the sacrifice, like it was worth it.
My biggest struggle since like, I guess like kind of realizing that I might not see everybody again.
I think that because I'm undocumented and I wanted to go to college, it was harder for me because I wasn't born here. So I knew that I wasn't going to get a lot of money. And I think it made me try harder. It sucks because we barely get enough, and I feel like we try harder than most people do.
The biggest struggle being undocumented is you literally depend on people in the government system, which they don't understand how they make you feel whenever they threaten to take out like certain things like the DACA. You always like wonder, am I gonna be able to renew it? Am I gonna be able to go to school? Am I gonna be able to get a job? It's like you never know. You're always on thin ice about it.
You know, and I just feel like I don't belong there. And at the same time, like being here, being undocumented and watching the news and like just hearing the undocumented like situation going on like every single time. It just makes me feel like I'm not wanted here either.
Hay muchos estudiantes que son buenos en sus grados, honores y valorar eso, porque ellos también necesitan y vienen aquí por un futuro mejor. Y el gobierno pues debería de ponerle un poco más de asunto a esto, ¿verdad? Que vaya más informaciones en las escuelas para que ellos sepan cómo pueden salir adelante, porque ellos quieren salir adelante.
The counselor that we had, I don't think she was really knowledgeable about any of that subject, and I feel like most counselors aren't. So as an undocumented student, it made it so much harder for me because it was like deadlines and deadlines, and I had no one to answer my questions. And then I was like 17, my parents didn't know anything, so I feel like counselors should totally like get the knowledge they need in all of that.
Kind of have presentations like the ones that they hold for the UC system, the Cal State system, kind of have like presentations just directly for undocumented / streamers / AB540 students, so that that they can have more help and more like information on that, because I feel like a lot of students don't think they have a lot of help from the government.
Just make them aware that there are like more options about things, more like scholarships and stuff like that. Just make them know that it is possible to achieve your dreams, even if it's harder.
I feel like the government can allow students to get like their residency just because we're students. We're not doing anything. If they look at our like criminal records, we have none.
I don't want to have to wonder if I'm gonna be here next week or in a year. Sometimes I'm thinking about my future and I'm like, wait, hold up, you don't know if you're gonna be here in a year or two. And it sucks, because I do want to be here. I don't know anything else but here.
We're just literally like everybody else. And I feel like the government can open up more federal aid and more help for Dreamers.
Like where we're at right now with our administration, I feel like the most important thing is to let undocumented kids know that they're not like parasites, or they're not like unwelcomed. Because in like the current climate that we're in, like I just feel like they just feel so inadequate because of how the administration kind of views them.
My message to undocumented students now is just do your research. Like I feel like that's literally it. Do your research, like get help.
I feel like they try harder than a lot of people out in this world, and I feel like you do you, as long as you know that you're focused and you're doing what you have to do to succeed and be better than most people that were born here. You're already doing a good job. The fact that you got to graduate, the fact that you're going to go to college and study and dream and work hard is why you came to the United States in the first place, for the American dream. And
accept your country, accept where you came from, accept where your family comes from, accept it and embrace it, and like use that to push yourself, like motivate yourself, and like become someone that your family is proud of, someone that you're proud of.
To like honestly just believe in yourself and know that the only person that can stop you is like you.
Please welcome our next presenter from the class of 2019, Daniel Salceda.
I suffered from depression for 5 years, and the last 3 were major depressive disorder. For those who don't know, major depressive disorder is a depression so bad it tears you apart mentally and leaves a void where your soul should be. There are countless suffering from this disorder all across the nation alone because they do not know how to reach out for help. In my personal experience as a teacher, that helped me reach out for help for my depression. But this is not to say that it all went good from there. I went many nights without sleep, or suffered from sleep paralysis. I was hospitalized for how vividly and frequently I fantasized about suicide. Not only that, I felt myself becoming more distant to the ones who loved me and the ones who I cared about. For those who think they are alone in their struggles of depression, anxiety, or suicidal thinking, you are not. There are people all around us, all around you, who care and really want to help if you reach out to them. I think utilizing the video production department of our district to launch PSAs about the real consequences of not seeking help and the real effects of having depression would majorly help those who are struggling. Help is not a million steps away like you think it is. It is all around you, it is all around our district, it is all around our state, and it is all around our country. Thank you.
Students also created short documentaries based on their Catella Talks. Please welcome the next documentary, Sexual Harassment by Stephanie Guzman.
I think I was like 6 when my 16-year-old cousin raped me. I eventually told my dad when I was 12 that my cousin touched me. I never told him that he raped me because that word was just too much to come out of my mouth. And then I think when I was 13, I told the teacher that no, I got raped. She ended up having to report it. So my parents found out. I remember getting yelled at and breaking down. I remember the people who were the women involved in the situation, my mom and my cousin's mom, were the least supportive. It was my dad who was there for me. They tried to push me to move on. I wasn't really I was convinced by the older people involved in the situation to not go to therapy. In 10th grade, I was laying down with my dad and I broke down and I asked him to go to therapy. I think 2 weeks later, he had found a therapist, and yeah. I never really felt anger towards my rapist until this last year, because I realized that he got to move on and start a life with his kids and his wife, while I was almost 17, had never been on a date, couldn't handle the idea of another man touching me. The idea of ever being in a committed relationship was too much for me to handle. And yeah.
I think it's really brave for women nowadays to speak up about their experience with sexual harassment, because it's really risky for anybody to even try to accuse, not accuse, but just speak up about it overall, because people are just gonna say it's false accusations, and it's really hard for a woman to be right.
So as a male, what do you think of other men who harass other women?
I think other men that harass women aren't clearly thinking about how much of an impact it has on them and their lives. It's hard I know a woman who goes through traumatic experiences like that, it can be hard for them to put their trust into another guy or just walk around the street without having a fear of that happening again. When something like that happens to you, it's stuck in you, you're scared now.
I think it's pretty significant that they do, just because the issue is usually posed as, oh, it's the women are the ones that are sexually harassed, and people don't realize that it's on both roles.
I feel like it's rare because some men are looked at as they're supposed to be strong, so I think it's also pretty brave. I feel like a guy who speaks up about it is like 10 times even like more significant than when a woman speaks up about it, because it's like, oh, like crap, like this happens to women and like men.
I think women that harass men, I think it's a little bit of the same ordeal in a way. They might not be understanding of how much of an impact it could have on someone. I think that when the tables turn like that, the girl on the guy, I think it is a little bit different, but it shouldn't be perceived that way.
I think it's pretty brave of them to speak up, just because nowadays women are always told like, oh yeah, you know, this didn't happen, like the issues usually pushed aside. So the fact that they're able to speak up and speak up against people who don't want them to, I think it's pretty good.
I think that it's something that's like embedded into every guy. I'm not saying this to be sexist or anything, but I think that guys are just raised in a different way where they don't realize that they're doing certain things. So I think that because of the way that guys are raised and like the societal norms that are pressed on them, they don't actually have a really well perception of what consent means or what sexual harassment or like what qualifies as sexual harassment.
We live in like a society where stuff like this, like sensitive topics, don't really get talked about because it makes humans uncomfortable. And I feel like because it makes us feel uncomfortable because we talk about it, it's just something that we normally just put off, or like we don't put that much attention to it because it's like, why talk about something that we don't want to talk about? I feel like it's just like even one person can give like 1,000 voices to other people.
I was 13 years old when I became part of the statistic. I became part of that 34% group where your harasser ends up being your family member. It was the transition from elementary to junior high. I was 13 going to 7th grade. And at the time, my parents were struggling financially, and we've never struggled like this before. We weren't able to make rent. My aunt had a boyfriend at the time, which I've known since I was 6 years old, and my parents had asked my aunt's boyfriend to move in with us. He did help. He did put almost half the portion of the rent that we needed. So since I knew him since he was 6 years old, from the start, I knew there was something off about him. It started off small things like glares, just nasty stares that will make me feel uncomfortable. I started noticing this in a month in that he had moved in. I remember one day I was in my room changing, and I had noticed that he was looking at me change. I never said anything about this because my parents pressured me, don't play your music too loud, don't do this, don't be annoying, because if you do, it'll make them move out, and then we'll end up without money for the rent. So as a 13-year-old girl, I had that mindset that I couldn't do anything about this, because if I do, then that means we won't make rent. I didn't want to be that person who ruins my family. So I stayed quiet. For 2 years, 2 freaking years, I dealt with him touching me, I dealt with him looking at me. And for a 13-year-old kid to be going through that, it's not okay. I remember the exact same day that it happened. It was a Saturday morning. He knew my routine. He knew every morning I got up to shower and then eat breakfast. That Saturday morning, my aunt and her boyfriend were in the kitchen eating breakfast. And I went into the shower. I went in the bathroom to shower. And I noticed that he was charging his phone there. And I thought to myself, why would he charge his phone in the restroom? Why not charge it in the mirror? So I just had to make sure. And I looked at his phone. And of course, it was recording. And I looked at his gallery just to make sure if there was any other videos, and of course there was other videos that I did not know about. I remember the moment it happened, I felt cold, I felt dirty, I felt useless. I ran to my sister crying like I've never cried before. I'm not a crier, I'm not an emotional person. I don't like sharing my emotions to my friends, to my family, to anybody. And when she saw me cry, she knew exactly what had happened. I remember just laying in there in my bed naked with the bath towel on. I remember yelling. I remember my sister telling my aunt's boyfriend to get out, get your things and get out. I think the worst part about this is my parents didn't believe me. They thought it was just me making things up. They excused his actions, saying that it was an accident. He didn't mean to record you. So it was an accident 4 times that he recorded me.
That hurt the most because my parents weren't there for me. My sister, she tried being there for me, but she just didn't know how. And I appreciate that, but it wasn't enough. 3 years later, I finally told someone about that. I told my friends, and I didn't realize how much it had affected me when I actually told someone about it. I went through panic attacks. I went weeks without showering because I was just too scared to be in the shower. I remember every time I did shower, I would not have any phones in there because just the thought of it gave me anxiety. It's not uncommon that once you become a victim, you become a victim again. And that's what happened to me. 7 months ago, I had a friend. I trusted him. I actually opened up to him about what had happened, and he was there for me. He really was. I was in the car telling him my story, crying, and he just held me. I remember there was a party, and we both went, and he ended up getting wasted. He was drunk, and I took him home. I slept over because I needed to take care of him, and he was my friend. I trusted him. I remember waking up to him penetrating me. I pushed him off, and to this day, he still doesn't know what happened, because for me, just to tell him that he did that to me, I feel like that would kill him. I don't talk to him anymore. I cut him off out of my life. Yeah, it hurts because he was someone important to me, but just the thought of him disgusts me. And the fact that he did that after he knew exactly what I went through hurt the most. I'm not here to tell my sad story to you guys. I don't want your pity. I'm here as an advocate. I know there's a lot of people in this room that don't have the voice that I do, and I want to be that voice for you guys. I wasn't going to do this presentation initially. I didn't want people to know about my story, but my friend told me, Steph, like, there's going to be at least one person in that crowd who's going to need to hear this today, and that's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Now please welcome our last presenter from the class of 2019, Thalia Yap.
A decade ago, we were introduced to social media, and the use and involvement of it in our lives has grown immensely. One of social media's purpose was to give an ease with communication. Social media was supposed to bring us together, not drift us apart. Hi, my name is Thalia, and I'm here to present you about my topic, does social media isolate teenagers? Raising concerns, as according to statistics, more than half of teens, 54% of them said that they spend too much time on their phones, and 41% of them said that they overdo it on social media. Research suggested that cell phones were increasingly undermining personal interactions as they spend an average of 9 hours a day online. We pretend not to notice the social isolation. Most of the time, it's just us and our phones. I say us, I say we, because I'm guilty of this the same way that you are. A friend once told me that she didn't like it when my friends and I were on our phones most of the time when we were together. In my defense, I was just taking pictures of us and our food, then posted it on Instagram and probably tweeted how much fun we were having. My friend's response then hit me when she said, I'm the one that's here, but it feels like I'm not wanted, that you're more focused on broadcasting to people what we are doing. It feels like you guys are here, but you're not. We keep on checking our social media for the fear of missing out, but what we don't realize as we keep our social media active, our relationships have become inactive. We act almost happy with the experience that we share, but is it the same when no one is there? Social isolation only makes room for jealousy, unproductivity, depression, and anxiety. Let's reevaluate ourselves. Do you know that an average teenager checks their phones 150 times a day? Are you too caught up on social media? Is it becoming a distraction rather than a connection to the people you're around with? If you answered yes, then it is time to take a break. We have become so dependent on our phones and obligated to social media that we forgot what truly matters. Having a social media detox reminds you what is here and what is real. I'm not asking you to delete all your social media apps. Neither am I asking you to not use your phones anymore. As the world can be so overwhelming, learn to balance life and technology. Imagine what the world would be like if we all stayed offline. Thank you.
Also critical thinking, because it helped me to stop just talking about my problem but also come up with a solution.
Critical thinking, because this is a really hard problem to to fix in general, because these are people that they just want to live, that's all.
Was communication, because when conducting my interviews, I was able to hear the opinions and thoughts of the people I was interviewing, and this helped me come up with adequate information to add to my presentation.
Communication was one of the 5 C's that was most important to me, because it gave me the advice from my peers that I needed to make my presentation better, and it gave me the feedback that I needed to know if my presentation was good or not, and if there was things I needed to fix.
Like if you want to have an issue that you want to fix, but you don't really know how, you can have ideas given to you or from your friends, or any peer, even a teacher can help you, and it just brings that nice communication, because sometimes teachers can give you oh, maybe you can improve this and you can do this, or maybe they just give you the idea and something just comes to you and you're just oh wow, yeah, that sounds good, maybe I can make it better.
For me, it was very important to not just only speak for myself, but also to listen to their opinions and what they could say about my topic, for me to improve it, for me to get to know what they want to hear as well.
Looking at new ways really helped me on my research, and one of my friends was what if I don't want to hurt my parents, or anyway, is there any way possible I can help myself without hurting them, because I really love them, this and that. So it helped me work on it.
I think creativity was the most impactful for me, because it allowed me to create my own solution. So obviously it has to be original. It can't be something that was already made up. And documentary-wise, I feel it allowed us to elaborate more. It allowed me to add my own perspective and how I wanted others to perceive this particular topic. And I feel because of that, the creativity allowed my project to be spot on.
Definitely character for me, because this is about the individuals that suffer from major depressive disorder, and I want people to know that everyone should be valued, whether they have mental illness or not.
I believe it was character. We all were very passionate about the work we want to do, and it involved a lot of different people, and it took a lot for them to tell us what they did.
Thank you, Thalia. Some of our presenters today will have booths during Love Week if you would like to know more about their ideas, want to help them sign petitions, or are interested in joining their cause or club.
In addition, all of our presentations today will be available on YouTube after our event.
Finally, we would like to thank the following people and groups. Thank you to the Catella High School English Department, Jordan Garcia, Christina McGuire, and Cheryl Campos for kickstarting these talks.
Thank you to Mr. Newmanville, Mr. Delgado, Ms. Montoy, Joseph Wong, and our Catella High School film crew for our live stream and support.
Thank you to our audience, district friends, and parents for their support.
And thank you to Miranda for being my co-host this morning.
Thank you to Dulce for being my co-host this morning.
And finally, thank you to all of our presenters for their courage, ideas, and inspiration.
Please have a wonderful rest of the day and use the 2 front doors on either side of the theater to exit.